Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here. I'm happy you get to spend a little time with me. We can spend a little time together. And we're going to talk about today kind of a concerning study that just came out. And we're going to talk about why the American lifespan is declining. We're the only industrialized nation in the world that has a declining lifespan and what we need to do about it. Because this is a real big warning sign. It's telling us that what we're doing isn't working. Because we have all these campaigns we put out, let's keep moving and change the kids' lunch programs. They're not working. We're living less. And isn't that how we win the game? We win the game if we live longer. Now, for years, I've been telling you that this generation of children is the first generation ever to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents by 5 years. So that's a scary enough statistic. But now we're seeing that the adults, the old folks, are living less as well. Now, for the first time in 2 decades, life expectancy has declined. Obesity appears to be a major player in this, along with the rising rates of 8 leading causes of death, including heart disease, stroke, diabetes, dementia. Now, dementia rose by 15.7% between 2014 and 2015. So it's getting worse, folks. Anybody ever deal with somebody with dementia? Scary, isn't it? That person you knew, that person that raised you, that person that changed your diapers. They don't know who you are anymore. They don't know who they are anymore. And it's really a scary thing. And we can give a whole 2-3 hour dissertation as to why that's happening. We're going to cover it a little bit, but that's not the topic for today. That's going to be off topic for another show. Latest data from the National Center for Health Statistics shows life expectancy for both men and women has dropped between 2014 and 2015 from 76.5 years in 2014 to 76.3 years in 2015. So the decline really, if you look at it, is only about 0.1 years of life expectancy. No big deal. On the average, people are dying a little more than a month earlier and 2 months earlier for men. And you're thinking to yourself, no big deal. 2 months, you're old anyway. Who cares, right? But this is a sign. This is a trend. And this is the first step. Now, if you've listened to me for the past 35 years that I've been teaching, you know that when I talk about things, they become mainstream media, usually sometimes in a couple of months, sometimes in a couple of years. But things we talk about become mainstream very quickly, relatively speaking, because finally everybody else picks up on it and says, wow, Joe was right. But this is a real concerning issue here. A decline, like I said, of 0.1 years is only about 2 months for men. But in all, there were about 86,212 more deaths in 2015 compared to 2014. And as of 2015, the U.S. ranks 29th of 43 countries for life expectancy. Shouldn't we be number one? With all the technology we have, with all the financial wherewithal that we have as a country, with all the education that we have as a country, we should be number one. Well, we were 29th of the 43 countries, lagging behind Chile, Costa Rica, Slovenia, Korea, Czech Republic. In 2014, a year earlier, we ranked 28th. So we went down one in 1 year. Decline of life expectancy is a unique American phenomenon. No other developed countries experience this decline. So we have to start thinking about what are we doing as a country that's making us so bad. The lead author of the study, Jiquan Zhu, I think it was his name, noted that the decline in life expectancy is preliminary caused by a rise in several categories of preventable deaths, again highlighting the failure of the American healthcare system to properly address the root causes of disease. There it is. We're not addressing the cause of disease. We're addressing treating the disease or treating the symptoms. I've been preaching now for 35 years. We want to get to the cause of the problem. I'm a chiropractor. I'm board certified in chiropractic, orthopedics, pain management, double board certified in nutrition. That's 5 board certifications. Retired dietitian, award-winning author, nationally syndicated. Well, this show is internationally heard now. We're heard all over the world. And we have patients come to us from all over the world. And when people come from other countries, it's neat because they assume that the U.S. healthcare system is much better than theirs. I've had to fill out paperwork for the State Department to say, yes, this person is coming to see me. They really are going to be a patient. This is how long I predict their treatment plan is going to be, so that they can come over here and get a visa or a pass to come in and see us. And so it's exciting when people come from all over the world to get treatment in our offices. But when people come here, they say, oh, well, America's the best, America best. Not necessarily. Statistically speaking, we're not the best. In fact, we're getting worse. And so it's really scary. We're not getting to the cause of the problem. So if you come to my offices and you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling, we can do a couple of things. Number one is we can refer you out and get some injections. We can get you some medication to try to cover up your pain. But my doctors, our first goal is to find out why you have the pain. Now, I say pain because a lot of people go to chiropractors for pain. So if you have a pinched nerve, unpinch it. If you have acid reflux, maybe it's your stomach pushing up against your diaphragm. We have to do a nutritional evaluation on you. What are you eating? What are you not eating? Friend of mine, very famous house designer, very wealthy, dropped dead this week, my age. And he was stressed out. He had a horrible diet. Everyone said, I'm surprised Jim made it this long. But he died. He's a builder. So we got to get to the cause of the problems, not just treat the symptoms. I got to go to a break. When we come back, I'm going to talk about the cause of most health problems and what you need to do to fix them. I'm also going to open up the phone lines. If you have a healthcare question, give us a call, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. My website, if you want to send me questions. Also send me questions through Facebook. My website, drjoeesposito.com. Hey, folks, tell your friends about the show. We're going to be right back. Hey, folks. Hey, thanks for listening. Glad you could spend a little time with me today. We're talking today about a very concerning study or something that's happening in the world, in the United States. U.S. lifespan is declining. And that's a serious thing because we're the only industrialized nation to have a declining life expectancy, and we shouldn't. We should have a increasing life expectancy. And so we're talking about some of the reasons why this is happening. Most of them you have control over. So I want you to start thinking, what can I do to increase my life expectancy? And the way we do that is to get healthy. It's not hard. It's easy. The cost of healthcare in the United States increased over the past year, now accounting for astounding 17% of the gross domestic product. 17% of all the dollars spent in this country are on healthcare. But even though the U.S. spends more than $3 trillion a year on healthcare, it's the worst performing system ranked by multiple aspects of care. So here we are, spending the most money and getting the worst results. So if you were an employee of mine and you worked in my office, or I worked in your office, let's turn it around. I worked in your office, and I was the lowest performing employee you had, and I was giving you the worst results of any of the other employees, what would you do with me? You would either A, sit me down and say, Joe, listen, we need to change. We need to figure out a better way to retrain you for you to do your job, or we need to let you go. Problem is, how do you fire a healthcare system? Well, what's happened is we've essentially done an excellent job of that with the insurance system that we have now. The insurance system we have now stinks. Anybody disagree with that? I don't know anyone, doctors, patients, everyone says it stinks, yet we keep doing it. A lot of the things the insurance company's doing are illegal, and you have to keep on doing them. You, the patient, suffer. You have higher deductibles, higher copays. You're getting less access to doctors because you thought you had something covered. Every day, patients come in our office and say, no, my insurance covers this. And this comes from all doctors. I know this because I talk to my colleagues. And no, my insurance should cover this. I have coverage for that. And then they call up and they say, yeah, you have coverage, but you have a $6,000 deductible. Yeah, but your copay, I love this one, is more than your treatment. So you're paying the doctor more than what we say the doctor should be charging you, so we're not going to pay you anything. It's amazing. Blows my mind. And so we as a country have to take control of our own health. We have to take responsibility in order to turn this thing around. It's not going to turn around on its own. I'm going to start taking some callers because April has a real good question. It's going to kind of fit in with what we're talking about here. You there, April?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, April, how can we make your day better?
I had a question about fibromyalgia. I was diagnosed with that. I'm 41.
Uh-huh.
And the medicine that they prescribed was made me a little dizzy.
Uh-huh.
And I was wondering if there was something natural that you recommend.
Okay. So fibromyalgia means everything hurts. That's a real simple way of putting it, right? Everything hurts. I touch you on your shoulders. I touch you on your elbow. I touch you on your knee. You're going to scream, right? See,
yes.
I've diagnosed you already, April. How about that? What we're
Yeah.
finding with fibromyalgia is many times it's not your shoulder, your knee, and your elbow that hurts. It's your brain that's not processing input properly. There's a chemical in your brain, a neurotransmitter called GABA, G-A-B-A. And GABA suppresses other neurotransmitters. It suppresses pain, it suppresses function. And when the GABA levels are thrown off, you perceive pain much higher than the average person would. So I'm touching you and I'm touching Ahmad in his shoulder, and it's the same amount of pressure, but you're experiencing it a lot more. So what I look at when I come to fibromyalgia patients is the first thing I look at is their digestive system. Do you have any acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating?
Yes.
Yeah. No, there you go. See how smart I am, April? I don't even know you. You're a whole state away, and I could figure out what's going on with you. The stomach's job, it breaks proteins into amino acids. The amino acid tyrosine becomes dopamine in your brain, which gives you pleasure. So when you're in a lot of pain, you're not experiencing a lot of pleasure. Glutamine becomes GABA and norepinephrine. So you're probably tired all the time too, right?
Absolutely.
There you
yes,
go.
sir.
Yeah. Because the norepinephrine is a neurotransmitter that gives you energy. So if we can't produce enough GABA because we're not digesting our proteins to produce the glutamic acid, there's our problem. Now, don't go taking glutamic acid by itself. You need glutamic acid with the other amino acids to work properly. People say, well, it's a glutamic acid issue, I'll just take more of it. No, it actually works in reverse. So if we can fix your digestive system, the acid reflux, the heartburn, the burping, the gas, that's going to allow the body to start producing the amino acids to produce the neurotransmitters to help suppress that overall pain. So and of course we do chiropractic with patients like you because we want to realign the spine, take all the stress off the nerves. We get you on a very alkaline diet, a lot of vegetables, fruits, nuts, and seeds, get you off the acid, the stimulating foods like coffee, meat, sugar, artificial sweetener, because that's actually making the pain worse. And in most cases, in fact, I had a case not long ago when she came to me, she said, if you don't fix me, I'm going to kill myself. And her husband looked at me and said, she's not kidding. He's crying. He says, Doc, you got to help my wife. I don't want to lose her. And we worked with her. She now has a full-time job. She still comes in for maintenance care about once a month. And she says, you saved my life. She goes, I tried everything. I tried every drug. Nothing was working. Once we got her brain reworking, that's when the body was able to suppress the pain and she was able to experience pain at a normal level. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
That's a lot of stuff going on there, April. But yeah, I mean, I've seen so many cases like you. I knew exactly what your symptoms were going to be before I even talked to you. So, well, if you're ever in the area, we'd love to have you in as a patient. And if not, you could always call my office and at least we can do a nutritional evaluation over the phone with you and get that set up for you.
Thank you.
All right, April. Hopefully there's some hope for you. Thanks so much for calling. And folks, if you do want to call my office, the number is 844-44-Dr. That number rings through to my office when I'm not on the air. But if you have questions now, 844-44-Dr. and we can hopefully get you on the air. You can also send me your questions through Facebook/Dr. Joe Esposito. And if we get some good ones, I'll have Ahmad read them to me, and me and Ahmad will help answer those questions for you at Facebook/Dr. Joe Esposito. Like me on Facebook, by the way, folks. We send out a lot of good information on Facebook. You can send me questions through my website, drjoeesposito.com. And, you know, back to what we're talking about with April, is the body sometimes just doesn't have the right chemistry. And so that's why I recommend you do eat a lot more fruits and vegetables. If you don't know how to do that, you can get my books. My first book is called First book is Eating Right for the Health of It. My second book is Prescription for Extreme Health. Prescription for Extreme Health is basically a step-by-step guide on how to get well. It's really kind of cool. But I archive my radio shows. They're all on my website. Those are free. That's my gift to you, drjoeesposito.com. And I take a supplement every day to help my brain work better, and it's called Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. It's 2 powders. I mix them. I don't do animal products, so I mix it with coconut milk or almond milk. Whatever on sale is what I buy. People say, what do you buy? Whatever on sale. Put it in a jar, shake it up, and I drink it. Pretty amazing. It's pretty awesome stuff. And that's available on my website, too, drjoeesposito.com. And the cool part about that is it alkalizes your system. Because when your body is too acidic, it's a perfect environment for disease. And 50%, I was going to cover this a little later, but I'll kind of jump ahead. 50% of Americans now have a chronic disease. That's some scary stuff. 1 in every 2 of you listening to my voice right now has a chronic disease, statistically speaking. That's not good. And a lot of them are self-induced. which means you're eating a bad diet. You're eating the 7 deadly sins: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweetener. You're doing breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas. I love it, and this happens every day. Someone will call me, send me an email, come into my offices, and they'll say, Dr. Joe, I decided to give it a shot. And they give it a shot, and they come back in, and they say, Dr. Joe, I gave up the bad foods. I started eating good foods. I started taking Super Greens and Essential Source, and I am blown away with the results. Now I want to get my nervous system working as well. That's what makes my job worth doing. Folks, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. Number here at the studio, 844-44-DR-JOE, D-R-J-O-E. My website, drjoeesposito.com. When we come back, we are going to talk about one of the number one reasons people are dying earlier and earlier in the United States and what you need to do about it. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Don't go anywhere. I'm happy that you're here today. Hopefully, we're going to give you a lot of good information to help change your life. I want to naturally get you well and keep you well. And we're talking today about why the American lifespan is declining, not increasing, but decreasing, and some of the factors that are involved. And the good news about this, if there's such a thing as good news about life expectancy declining, is that you have control over most of the reasons, which also means, here we come. So you're going to have to take responsibility now. A lot of the things you're doing to shorten your life expectancy are self-induced. You did them to yourself. Shame on you. But a famous man once said, forgive them, for they know not what they do. The good news is, now you know. If you didn't know before this, that's okay. You're forgiven. But you got to find out what you're doing. The health of individuals in the United States is increasingly being defined by complexity and multiple morbidity and co-occurrence of 2 or more chronic conditions. So what that means is, in English, is that morbidity is a disease. Mortality is death. So if I want to know the morbidity level in the United States, how many people have a disease, and right now it's 50%. 50% of us, you, have a chronic disease. The mortality level is how many of us are dying. So morbidity and mortality are 2 different things. This is interesting. When I did the research on this, opioid addiction appears to be one of the significant contributing factors to declining life expectancy in the United States. In all, more than 50,000 Americans die from drug overdoses each year, a rise of 11% from 2014. So 50,000 of you are going to die from drug overdoses. Now, many times it's a legal drug overdose. So here's the thing. Every day people die in the hospital, correct? People die under doctor's care. Every day. Most people die under doctor's care. That doesn't mean the doctor did anything wrong. The doctor followed protocol. And the protocol might have been take 2 of these 3 times a day or whatever it is. And the drugs interact with people differently. Now, I weigh about 200 pounds. I'm about 6 foot, 6'1". I'm going to react differently than, let's say, Rachel, who's probably 5'5" and weighs 120 pounds. And yet we give the same dosage oftentimes, and we don't know how the person is going to interact. And that's where a lot of the problems come in. Right, Rachel? 120? Too much? Too low? She's looking at me, and she's glaring at me. I don't know if that's good or not. If you have a call, give us a call. Rachel will answer your call, 844-44-Dr. Joe. So opioid addiction, 500,000 people dying. Heroin deaths rose 23% between 2014 and 2015. Death from synthetic opioids, including fentanyl, rose 73%. And death from prescription opioids rose 4%. Prescription painkillers alone killed over 17,000 people last year. And according to Robert Anderson, who oversees the statistics for the CDC, I don't think we've ever seen anything like this, certainly not in modern times. So what do opioids do? Opioids help cover up pain. What was the key word in that sentence? Cover up. It helps to cover up the pain. It doesn't treat the cause, it treats the symptoms. Now, if I have pain, I have absolutely no problem whatsoever taking a medication to help cover up my pain. But in the meantime, I would say, why do I have this pain? Why do I have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling? And I want to get to the cause of the pain, not just treat the pain. This is where we're falling short. Our pain management protocols need to be changed. And this is why, as a chiropractor, one of the benefits I have is I can't write prescriptions. Not allowed. So I have to figure out where the pain is coming from. Is it a chemical problem? Is it a physical problem? Is it a muscle spasm? Is it a bone pinching a nerve? Is it a swollen disc? Is it arthritis? Is it an inflammatory condition? So my doctors and I, we sit down all day, every day, and we look at patients' files and we go over charts and we say, what do you think is causing this? Is it a pinched nerve? Is the person taking foods that are increasing the pain? I can't eat chocolate. If I eat chocolate, I get a headache. Well, there you go. Guess what? I can't eat chocolate. So with patients, many times I'll tell them, listen, write down your diet, write down everything you eat. And I do this with all my patients. And if you don't have anything to write it on, go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, and we have a form there. It's called a diet diary. You can print them up 1,000, 10,000 of them if you want, no charge, and write down what you eat, and then start writing down how you feel. And that's how I found out that I was having a reaction to chocolate. I started getting headaches arbitrarily, couldn't figure out what it was. It's a couple of years ago. So I started writing down what I ate, and sure enough, every time I had chocolate, I had a headache, and I said, well, I shouldn't eat chocolate, and there you go. So pain management, you need to take some responsibility so that you don't have to take medications to cover up the pain. And remember this, 90% of your nerves don't feel pain. You don't feel your blood pressure, your spleen, your thyroid, your kidneys, your earwax, your toenails, your prostate, your ovaries, all controlled by nerves. So if you feel pain, we got a 1 in 10 shot that you hit the right nerve that feels pain. You got a 9 in 10 shot that the nerve isn't working and you don't even feel it. But those nerves control organs. This is why I believe we need to change our pain management protocol, but also our healthcare protocol. What we're doing isn't working. Obviously, what we're doing isn't working. What if we got to the cause of the problem? Nerves control organs. So check the nerves going to the organs, whether there's pain or not, to see if there's a problem. I've been in practice 32 years now, plus my education. I've been seeing patients for over 35 years. And so in 35 years, I found that when you start taking care of people's nervous systems, it opens up the nerves to the organs, and the organs are now capable of working normally. Then we do a nutritional workup on the patient to make sure they're getting the right nutrition to make the organ work properly. And we have cases all day, every day, where people go, Doc, it's amazing. It's a miracle. It's not a miracle. We figured out the cause. And so we check the nerves that feel pain, and we check the nerves that don't feel pain. And then we got to look at the patient's diet. Because with me, it was chocolate. With you, it might be coffee. With you, it might be artificial sweetener. Number one side effect of artificial sweetener, aspartame. Number one side effect, headaches. So if you're drinking diet sodas every day and chewing sugar-free gum and having sugar-free yogurt, and you can't figure out why you have fibromyalgia or fatigue or headaches or whatever your symptom is, well, gosh, I wrote it down. And every time I have this sugar-free yogurt, I get this reaction. I get heartburn. I get high blood pressure. My heart races. Let's try cutting it out and see what happens. Here's a fun little thing you can do to test the food to see if you're having a reaction to it. Sit down and rest for about 10 minutes. Nice and relaxed, nice and quiet. Just breathe. Then take your pulse. I'd say take it for a minute. But if you want to cheat, you can take it for 20 seconds and multiply by 3, because that would be 60 seconds, and there's your pulse. Got it? Then eat a certain food. Still relaxed. Don't jump up. Don't move around. Eat whatever it is. Have a diet soda. Have a whatever it is that you think you're wheat, dairy, sugar, ice cream, breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas. Wait about 3 or 4 minutes and take your pulse again. If your pulse goes up more than 6 beats a minute, chances are you're having a reaction to that food, and you shouldn't be eating that food. Folks, got to go to break. When we come back, we're going to talk why obesity and our war with obesity has failed and what we need to do about it. If you have a healthcare question, 844-44-Dr. Joe, 844-44-DRJOE. My website, drjoeesposito.com. You can order Super Greens, Essential Source, my books, send me questions, listen to archive radio shows, or you can send me questions through Facebook, Facebook.com/Dr. Joe Esposito. Hey, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Hey, thanks for listening. Thanks for telling your friends about the show. It's always fun when I'm on the air. I could watch Facebook, and so many people like my page. It's so cool to see that. And I appreciate that, because we send out a lot of good information on Facebook. You can also send me your email address on my website, and we'll sign you up for our newsletter. It's free, and we send out a lot of good information there as well, and it's no charge, and we never give out your email address to anyone, so you know it's safe with us. We want to be your doctors. We want to help you get well and stay well. And that's why we archive all of our shows and my live events that I do. I do live lectures all around the country. We videotape them, put them on my website as well, and there's still no charge for any of that. And the reason we do that is we want to give you the information that you need for your friends and family to take control of your own health. We're talking today about life expectancy in the United States dropping, not increasing. and it's really scary. And one of the main reasons is opioid addiction. People are taking a lot more drugs, and many people very innocently become addicted to the opioids. You have pain, we give you medication. We, not me, the medical profession, gives you medication. Nothing wrong with that. It works very well to cover up the pain, but then you can't come off it. Because what happens is you produce opioid chemicals in your brain all the time. And when you take it from an external source, your body stops producing it internally. And when it stops producing it internally, anything can set you off, and that's where an addiction can start. So we got to be careful with that. That's why when it comes to pain management, I truly believe we need a new protocol. And the protocol should be getting to the cause of the problem, not just treating the symptoms. Okay, we're going to answer a question from Facebook. Ahmad, you have a question for me, I understand?
Yes, I do. This week's question comes from April. She says, please advise. Since 40, I've been having food allergies and now found out I'm allergic to wheat, corn, and soy. When I eat wheat, I have a skin condition like psoriasis, and my skin starts slitting and bleeding in fingers, hands, and feet. Also neck pain as it presses on the orbital nerve and causes migraines. Also, body heats up when I eat certain foods. Why do I have all of these food allergies? I'm now 54.
April, you're such a young baby. All right, a couple of things have happened. Number one, since the 1980s, we started using a lot of genetically modified foods. And this is a scary thing. And it's one of the reasons I believe, my opinion, that we have a shorter life expectancy, because genetically modified foods are slightly altered. We alter the DNA of the plant, usually corn and soy, but canola oil is made many times with genetically modified rapini. We genetically modified trout now, salmon, I'm sorry. Genetic modification is going rampant. And it's a scary situation because you alter the DNA of the plant slightly so that A, we can spray more pesticides on it and not kill the plant, or B, the animals eat the genetically modified food and it kills the animal, or like a bug. So we're putting these chemicals in our body, and we as humans have never seen the DNA like this. It's slightly altered, but it's just enough for our immune system to say, I don't know what that is. I know what corn is, but that's genetically modified corn, and I don't know what to do with it. And so the immune system now kicks in and starts attacking these foreign proteins, and by definition, an allergy is the body attacking a foreign protein. So I believe a lot of that occurs from the genetically modified foods. And you said corn, soy, and wheat has been altered as well. It's been hybridized, not necessarily genetically modified, but hybridized. So it's changed the protein structure of the food. And so that's why I've been in practice for 32 years now, plus my educations. So 35 years, I guess, I've been seeing patients. I see a lot more allergy cases than I ever did before. Why did our grandparents have all the problems we have? Well, they didn't have all these foods they're being exposed to. So dairy is the number one food allergen. Wheat is the number two food allergen. And then we're looking at soy and corn now coming up strong. So a couple of things you can do. Number one, if you're going to do corn or soy, I recommend, or wheat, which I don't think you should be doing, organic only or don't eat it. So it's very simple. I know I went to one of the health food chain grocery stores the other day, and they had corn, 6 for $1. I thought, oh, my God, what a deal. So I bought some, and I thought that this store would never sold any genetically modified food. So I sent an email to the corporate office, and I said, can you promise me the corn has not been genetically altered? And they said, no, we can't promise that. Our suggestion would be you go with organic if you're going to want to avoid genetically modified foods. So here this is a health food chain that's very well known for protecting you, healthy foods, and they can't even protect you. So number one, corn and soy, try to stay away from it if you can. The problem is corn is everywhere. High fructose corn syrup, corn starches. So corn is used a lot because it's cheap and it's also subsidized. Another thing that needs to change, I believe, is that we keep subsidizing the foods that are causing a lot of the problems, wheat and corn and soy. So maybe if we did more vegetables, we'd have a lot better response. So what you can do too, April, and I have this in my new book, Prescription for Extreme Health, is get some raw organic apple cider vinegar and take about 2 tablespoons every day. This can help stimulate your digestive enzymes and help you break down the proteins a little more efficiently. I'd rather you just stay away from this stuff, but if you're going to do it, do the apple cider vinegar. Now, personally, I don't like the flavor of apple cider vinegar. So Ahmad doesn't either. He's nodding his head. He's shaking his head with a funny face over there. So I take a big glass of water, and I'll mix it with that. Or another thing I do is I'll take some tea. I make a big cup of tea in the morning, herbal teas. I add a little stevia to my tea because I like it just a little sweet. I'll drink half the cup of tea. I'll add 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar to the remaining part. I'll exhale, chug that apple cider vinegar with the tea. It covers it up a little bit, and then I'll drink some water to wash it down. But it works great. It really helps the digestive system work more normally. And then the third thing you want to look at too, April, is your nervous system. If you have pinched nerves going to the organs, that can affect the immune system. It can put stress on the nervous system, put stress on the immune system. So I find that when patients get their spine aligned properly through chiropractic care, and if they have acid reflux, heartburn, like I think the other person was named April too, wasn't it? Did we have another April calling in? I think so, yeah. Big day for April's. April's in May. So we got to pull the stomach down away from the diaphragm to get the digestive system working, and that'll help break the proteins down more efficiently. So hopefully that gives you a lot of things to look into. Fix the stomach, apple cider vinegar, and stay away from the bad foods. I think you'll be pretty happy with the results. And that kind of ties in nicely with another reason why life expectancy in the United States is dropping. 2014 study, childhood obesity worsened between 1999 and 2012. This included all classes of obesity, but in particular severe obesity, which poses the greatest risk to children long term. Another CDC report concludes that America's battle against the bulge, especially in childhood obesity, is failing. What we're doing isn't working. According to the CDC director, Tom Frieden, the data speaks for itself. If you look for the goal we set for ourselves and look at what happened, we didn't achieve it. We've been trying to get childhood obesity down, and it's not working. So rather than lowering obesity rates for toddlers and children, obesity has risen since 2019 and now exceeds 17%. Scary stuff, folks. And that is, I'm telling you right now, you got to cut out the breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, and pastas. Not cut back, cut out. Folks, if you have a healthcare question, give us a call, 844-44-DR-JOE. Facebook.com/Dr. Joe Esposito. My website, drjoeesposito.com. And 844-44-DR-JOE also rings through to my offices when I'm not on the air. Hey, tell your friends about the show. We'll be right back. I am so glad that you're here. It makes my day knowing you're out there listening and hopefully getting good information to help you get well and stay well naturally. We're talking today about the American lifespan and why it's declining and the things you need to do to not become a statistic. And unfortunately, a lot of you, well, obviously are the statistics because that's where we get our statistics from, you, the public. But we can change that. And the cool part is the things you need to do are less expensive than what you're doing right now, quicker, easier. You'll feel better. You'll probably live longer. You'll have more energy. You'll sleep better. Your love life improves. You go to the bathroom better. There's no downside to you taking control of your own health except one. A lot of that super ultra processed junk food tastes really good. I'm not going to lie to you. I understand that food tastes good. But when you start feeling 100% health, it's not worth it. That's my thought process. It's not worth it for me to eat the 7 deadly sins: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. It's not worth it for me. Do I miss meatball sandwiches? Yeah, I'm Italian. Do I know what would happen to my body if I ate a meatball sandwich with provolone cheese on Italian bread? I do. And to me, it's not worth it. Somebody said once, well, everything in moderation. No. Moderation is for monks. I want to live extreme health. I got to be around a lot longer. I got a lot more radio shows to do, a lot more books to write, and a lot more patients to treat. And so I don't want to compromise my health because of a little bit of decadence. We've all done things in our lives that we regret in the name of decadence. Let's stop doing that. And trust me, the reward far outweighs that little bit of pleasure that you're going to get. So, U.S. anti-obesity campaign declared a failure. We talked about childhood obesity. Talked about the CDC saying we set our goals and we failed. Former First Lady Michelle Obama had put in the Let's Move campaign back in 2010. Has it made a dent in childhood obesity? No. It's been a miserable failure because it never integrated the fundamental nutritional advice that needed to be done. If you want to lose weight and you have a choice between exercising or eating right blows away exercising. So if you want to get thin, you have to change your diet. I know countless people that exercise like fiends and can't lose weight. I know countless people that have changed their diets, don't exercise, and are thin. So of the two, nutrition is far more important when it comes to body mass than exercise. Former First Lady, her campaign unwisely focused on exercise rather than children's diets. That's where the problem came in. I'm not saying we shouldn't move. I agree with that 100%. It didn't have all the parts. I can't build a model without all the parts. According to recent research, nearly 60% of food Americans eat is ultra-processed, and less than 1% of our daily calories come from vegetables. Most of our daily calories should come from vegetables, and unfortunately, we don't have any. 1%. I'm sorry. We do have some, 1%. It's maybe that tomato on your hamburger, that piece of lettuce. I don't know. Ketchup. Ketchup is considered a vegetable, so there we got ketchup there. French fries. Potatoes are vegetables, right? That they soak in sugar, I think it is, and then they fry them. That's the ones that give them the real good flavor when they're soaked in sugar. There's the good ones right there. More than half of what the average American eats in any given day is convenience food that could be bought at any local gas station. Ultra-processed food account for 90% of the added sugar in the American diet. So a couple of rules when it comes to knowing if a food is ultra-processed. Number one, if you can't pronounce an ingredient, don't eat it. It's just that simple. Most of you can pronounce ingredients. Now, if it says something like methylcobalamin or cyclocobalamin, you would say, I don't know what that is, I shouldn't eat it. Well, methylcobalamin and cyclocobalamin are vitamin B, B12. However, cyclocobalamin means that it's combined with cyanide. Methylcobalamin is a methyl group, which your body needs. You need methyl groups, it's called, to help the body function normally. So even supplements can be bad. Because people come to me all the time. I would say at least once a day, probably more. People come in and they say, Dr. Joe, I want to be your patient. I want to get my nervous system working. I want to get my digestive system, my acid reflux. I want that fixed. And I want to get on a good diet. And I said, perfect. You ready to make some changes? They say yes, and we move forward. And they'll come in with a bag of supplements. And I know enough brands now, and I could look at the name and go, no, this isn't good. I wouldn't take this one. I wouldn't take this one. This one you can keep. And so many times people buy supplements, and they look for the discount brand. In my new book, Prescription for Extreme Health, I quote my grandfather, my mother's father. And he said, always buy the best. It's always cheaper. And when it comes to supplements, that nothing could be a truer statement. Because if you're doing synthetic supplements or cyanide as opposed to methyl groups with your B12, you've got a problem. Okay? So we got to make sure we're eating the right kind of foods. And you want to try to eat whole foods. Supergreens and Essential Source, the two supplements I talk about all the time, we use whole foods and non-synthetic supplements added to it. I think at least you should be taking Dr. Joe's Supergreens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. It's funny, I was visiting a friend of mine at a doctor's office, and was visiting this one doctor, and written on the board, he has a board in his office, and he has he was talking about supplements, which I was really impressed with. He's a chiropractor and acupuncturist, and he listed a couple of brands. He had Dr. Joe's Supergreens and Essential Source. And I just smiled. I said, that is so cool that other doctors now recommend my supplements too. You can get those on my website, drjoeesposito.com. Also Amazon. If you have an Amazon account, order through Amazon. Give it at least a month. Take a scoop of each every day for a month. I think you'll be blown away, as almost everyone is, with the results. It's the quickest, cheapest, best way to get the nutrition that your body needs. Folks, if you have a healthcare question, give us a call, 844-44-DR-JOE, D-R-J-O-E. 844-44-DR-JOE. My website, drjoeesposito.com. Or you can Google Dr. Joe with the number one Dr. Joe in the world. You can order supplements, book appointments, send me questions. And Facebook, if you want to send me questions through Facebook, it's Facebook/Dr. Joe Esposito. Hey, tell your friends about the show. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Thanks for being here. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. I am. And you're going to have a better day if you listen to the show, because we're talking about how to increase your life expectancy. The life expectancy in the United States is on the decline, and that's not a good thing. And there's several things that are related to that, and a lot of it has to do with the way we manage healthcare. We need to change it. We're last when it comes to overall health. When we spend the most money when it comes to healthcare. We're not last. We were 28th or 29th, if I remember correctly. So we've got to figure out why. Why are we living less and spending more money than anybody else? And the reason is we need to change our management style. Just like any other business, if we have a business that's getting worse and worse, we need to change our management style. The business may be a very viable idea. Healthcare certainly is a viable idea in its purest form. But when we start messing it up, that's when we start having problems. And so you need to take control of your own health. And we've tried everything. We've tried an anti-obesity campaign, Keep Moving, or Let's Move. That's what it was called. The former First Lady, Let's Move. Well, it didn't work. Kids are eating more and more junk food. Kids are getting bigger and bigger. We're giving a lot more opioids. People are dying from drug overdoses. Opioids cover up your pain. And when you start taking them, you don't feel pain. And then you start coming off them. And it's kind of hard sometimes. And a lot of people become addicted. And that can kill you. So what if we got to the cause of your healthcare problems instead of treating the symptoms? I can't fix everything. Just so you know, I'm not here to say we can fix everything in our offices, but we work with so many other doctors. We have pages of doctors that we refer to, medical doctors, orthopedists, neurologists, psychologists, dentists, because we like to work together to try to get our people well, and that's why I like associating myself with doctors that are smart. If I had a medical problem, would I go to these doctors? Everyone on our referral list is, yes, I would, and I have in many cases. And so that's why I want you to start thinking, how can I get some well-rounded healthcare advice? And that's where you got to start taking control of your own health. Obesity is not the only problem associated with processed junk food. Today's food system are dominated by food processors coupled with trade policies that result in large food corporations flooding the market with nutrient-poor yet energy-dense foods that are relatively inexpensive. What that means is junk food is cheap. And it says energy-rich foods. I love that. Isn't that a funny word? Energy-dense foods. That sounds like if I ate it, I get a lot of energy, right? No, that means calories. So we even changed the word calories to energy-dense foods. Oh, well, energy-dense foods, that doesn't sound so bad. That's a nice little euphemism. So you have to take control of your own health. Read the ingredients. If you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. Eat more whole foods. Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source. At least give your body the nutrients, the minimum amount of nutrients that it needs to function normally. And when you do that, then you have the smarts to say, wow, I do feel good when I do this. I want to do more of it. Well, gosh, you know what? I did write down everything like Dr. Joe said, and when I ate this, I felt awful, but when I ate this, I felt great. Let me go back to eating more of that. I'm going to start taking some callers. If you have a question, give us a call, 844-44-Dr. Joe. Jason, how can we make your day better?
Yes, you've talked about neurological foods and foods for the digestive tract. But for those of us men that are out here trying to lift weights and get more muscle mass, but fighting a battle against low testosterone,
sure.
What food should we look for and stay away from to help fight low T?
It's a great question, Jason. And in fact, before I do my show, I sit down with my marketing director, Mary, and I lay out a couple of topics. And I said, what topic should we do this week? And that was one of my topics, actually. But it got voted off because of this one. I'll do it in the future. I'll do a whole show on it. But let's cover that real quick because it's important. Because as we get older, our testosterone levels drop. Now, you think of testosterone as your sex drive hormone. But it also, as you said, builds muscle. But not just your biceps and your triceps. How about your colon? That's a muscle. How about your blood vessels? Those are muscles. How about your heart? And so low T or low testosterone can be a very serious situation. And doctors say, well, I'm just going to give you a synthetic form of testosterone. Well, I'm not a big fan of that because, once again, if I start giving you an outside source, an exogenous source, what's going to happen is your body's going to start producing less and less. It's not going to jumpstart you. So we have to start thinking, what organs in our body make testosterone? And the two major ones are your adrenals and your testicles. Yeah. Most of us have burned out adrenal glands. And so for men and women, most of the patients that come in my office, I find they need an adrenal supplement. So I personally take something called Withenia, and I take Eleuthero. These are two herbs that help my adrenal glands work very well. And they give you lots of energy, but they also help boost normalize your hormone levels. Another trick you can do to help function in the romantic department as well as in the gym is something that's going to open up your blood vessels. Something called nitric oxide. Now, how do we get nitric oxide? We can eat foods that are high in natural, healthy nitrates like celery or beets. Beets are high in nitrates. But the problem is that a lot of sugar beets are genetically modified. So you want to get organic beet powder. Because if they do a powder, just like my Super Greens and Essential Source, when you make it into a powder, you take the sugar out. So if you take a half a teaspoon or a teaspoon of beet powder and add it to the Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source, it's pretty amazing. It opens up your blood vessels and increases circulation to your muscles, to your brain, to your happy parts, to everywhere. staying away from foods that are going to lower your testosterone is going to be the most effective thing you can do, Jason. And those are endocrine disrupting foods, especially dairy products, animal products, commercial animal products, because they're fed hormone disrupting chemicals that you eat, and it counteracts your testosterone. Perfumes, hairsprays, body colognes, scented shampoos, conditioners, deodorants. You want to stay away from those because they have chemicals in it called phthalates, PHLATES. And phthalates are endocrine disruptors, essentially stimulating your estrogen-producing parts of the body and lowering your testosterone. So you go to the gym and work out, and then you spray on your cologne and your body spray and your deodorant and your shampoos. You're actually being counterproductive to build your testosterone. Air fresheners, carpet cleaners, got to get them out of your house, because those are the things that are going to knock down your testosterone. So stimulating your adrenals, getting away from the things that disrupt your endocrine, your hormones, commercial animal products and scented chemicals, just about anything scented, you should see your testosterone go back up.
All right. Thank you very much.
There you go. Thanks for calling. Appreciate it. All right, let's see. We got a call here. Somebody called in with a question. They didn't want to come on the air. Is there a way to get rid of bone spurs in the finger near the knuckle? Well, let's talk about that for a second. That's a form of arthritis. Bone spurs are a form of arthritis. And what happens is if a bone moves out of alignment, it rubs against the bones above and below it, and that's where the bone spurs start to form. Actually, it's the ligaments that attach to the muscle, tendons, that attach to the muscle. The body starts laying down calcium on that tendon, and what happens is then you get this bone spur. So by realigning the joints, you take the stress off the joint, whether it's the spine, the foot, the knee, the hand. Realigning the joints take the stress off the joint, and then the bone spurs many times resorb. They go away. And we do this with our patients. We'll take pre-X-rays, and then if we need to take X-rays later on in the treatment plan, many times we see the bone spurs dissolve or resolve. Either way, I guess. Folks, got to go to break. If you have a healthcare question, 844-44-Dr. That number rings through to my office when I'm not on the air. If you want to get Dr. Joe's Super Greens or Dr. Joe's Essential Source, my books, other supplements, go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, or you can go to Amazon. They're also available on Amazon. Great products. I take the Super Greens, the Essential Source, every day. And like we advised Jason, add a little beet powder to it, give you a little extra kick. Folks, 844-44-Dr. is the number here. Tell your friends about the show. We will be right back. Hey, thanks for listening. Hope everybody's having a good day. We're going to give you a lot of good information to help you get well and stay well, as we always do. And that's why I take this and all my shows and I archive them on my website, and you have access to them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the outrageous cost of nothing. It's my gift to you. We archive all these shows. We archive my live lectures. Check my website, by the way. I do live lectures all over, and if I'm in your area, I'd love to have you come by or just come see me. Live lectures are a lot of fun because I can show you things I can't show you on the air, because so much of healthcare is physical, not chemical. And that's where I believe we have our disconnect. And we're talking today about why the life expectancy in the United States is actually getting less and not more. And I believe this is the disconnect, because we're trying to treat the symptoms and we're not getting to the cause. Because when you get to the cause of the problem, many times the body gets better. And when we start integrating, and that's what's so cool, is 20, 30 years ago, I'm a chiropractor. 20, 30 years ago, chiropractors and medical doctors, there was a rift. We always liked them. They just didn't like us. But now it's so cool. I get invited, literally a couple times a week, I get invited to medical doctors' offices. Please come by. I'd love to show you around. We're big fans of your show. Hey, listen, what would you do for a case like this? They refer patients in. We co-manage the cases. And so it's really neat that the environment has changed. And it's the only good thing that I see happening that's come out of this mess that we call the healthcare system in the United States. This is the only good thing I've seen come out of it, is now suddenly we've made strange bedfellows. Everybody's working together to help the patient, which is kind of neat. And so that's why we like to work with other doctors, and we like to have patients. In fact, I've gotten several messages on Facebook since I've been on the air. Can I come see you? I have this. Should I get an MRI? Should I do? Well, we answer all those questions for you. And so it's nice that now you, the public, are getting more of an awareness that you need to take control of your own health. International trade policies allow for selling lots of things like sodas, fast foods, high-calorie, nutrient-poor foods made with cheap ingredients like corn and soy. A lot of pesticides, a lot of herbicides, a lot of chemicals in the food. So it's not just the food anymore. It's what's in the food. I don't eat animal products. I haven't had animal products in over 30 years. I'm not asking you to do what I do. I'm asking you to learn what I learn so that you then can make an educated decision. I would probably enjoy a meatball sandwich. However, knowing what I know about what happens to your body when you put it in your body, I can't do that anymore. Those days are gone. And I'd much rather have health than a couple of minutes of pleasure eating something bad and then suffering the next day, being exhausted, putting on weight, digestive problems, headaches. I don't want that anymore. Those days are gone for me. And I want those to be gone for you too. We now know this kind of highly sugar-intense, saturated fat, salty foods make you sick. There's no question. I don't think there's anyone out there that's going to argue that we need to eat more ultra-processed foods. I don't know anyone that would argue that point. So if everybody agrees, imagine that. In politics, if everyone agreed on something. Here we are agreeing that we need to eat better. We need to take better care of ourselves. Then I want you to consider getting your nervous system working properly and your digestive system working better. And now we have a health care plan. We call that Joe Obamacare. See, maybe I should be the next Surgeon General. By the way, the Surgeon General just got fired. They have an interim Surgeon General, so maybe I can make a phone call here. Let's see. Wouldn't it be cool if I was a Surgeon General? Wouldn't that be cool? Imagine what would happen. People get well. What a concept. Going to take some callers. Let's go back to the callers. Frida, how can we make your day better?
Dr. Joe, I recently heard you on one of your programs say that you had a problem with macular degeneration.
Is
that true?
That is true, yes.
You also said that when you went to have your eyes checked that the doctor was amazed that they had improved, and I think the expectancy with that disease is that there is no improvement to be expected. So I have a friend who has that problem and know others. I'm sure we all do. And would like to know more about what you think should be done. You mentioned taking the super greens and the essential source, and those were your only comments about why your eyes may have improved.
Sure. Well, you're absolutely right. I went to the eye doctor several years ago, I guess 4 or 5 years ago now, took a picture of the back of my eye, and he says, you have a condition called drusen, which is a form of macular degeneration. And he said, there's nothing you can do about it. It either stays the same or gets worse, and it's pretty much, that's the game. Good luck with that. And I thought, well, that's not acceptable. So I started taking Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source because it's loaded with antioxidants, and it's loaded with the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients your body needs to heal. And I didn't want to go blind, of course. And plus, I don't put the bad stuff in my body. I stay away from the 7 deadly sins. I get regular chiropractic care to make sure my nervous system is working properly. And 2 years later, I went and got the pictures taken again, and my eye doctor had the original picture and a new picture, and he physically started to shake. And I thought, oh, my God, I have a brain tumor. Why is he shaking like that? And I said, what's wrong? He says, look at this. And I'm looking at it going, I don't know what I'm looking at. What am I looking at? He says, your drusen has improved about 60%. He said, what the heck are you doing? And I said, I stay away from bad foods. I take Super Greens and Essential Source. And he said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. He says there is no documented case that he knows of, he's been in practice over 30 years, where drusen actually improves. You're the first one. About a year later, I went back. He has an associate doctor in there, a young gal, and she took my the third picture now, and she looked at me, and she's looking at it and looking. I knew what she was doing. She had never seen anything like this, and it was funny because she's looking at it like, am I looking at this wrong? I'm just a young kid. Maybe I'm wrong. And she said, this is amazing. Can I use you in research paper? And I said, yes, you may. I said, send everybody my website, get the Super Greens, get the Essential Source. It's a minimum amount of nutrients that we need. And when you take it, you feel great. Aside from that, it works great. But they also have to stop putting the bad junk in their body as well. So when I found out my eyes were going, there was no other option. I wanted to get my vision back, and so far, very good. About 80% improvement in about 4 or 5 years.
And you said this was a year ago. Was your latest check?
Less than a year ago is my latest check, yes. And it continues to improve, yes.
And this is not exactly the same thing as macular degeneration?
Yes, there's different forms of macular degeneration. This is the beginning stages of what would, yes. So it is macular degeneration, yes.
Spell that word.
D-R-U-S-E-N.
S-E-M?
D-R-S-E-N. S-E-N, yeah.
RUSEN. Okay. I don't want to give false hope to anyone with macula.
That's the last thing I want to do.
That's why I'm calling to ask if someone takes just your Super Greens and your Essential Source and doesn't go the other route with healthful things that you have suggested, will that also help, you think?
It ain't going to hurt.
No.
I mean, why wouldn't you want to put the nutrients in your body that your body requires?
Mm-hmm.
Relatively inexpensive, easy, and it tastes good. Silly not to. All right, Frida, I got to run, so thanks for calling. Folks, if you want to get Super Greens and Essential Source, they're on my website, drjoeesposito.com, along with other supplements, my books, also on Amazon. You can go to Amazon and get it there, too, because I want you to naturally get well and stay well. My website, drjoeesposito.com. Hey, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Hey, thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Hopefully, you're going to get a lot of good information to help you naturally get well and stay well. We're talking today about why the lifespan in the United States is actually shrinking. And a lot of it has to do with the food we're eating, the fact that we're not losing weight like we should. Now, statistics are really grim. People around the world, especially Americans, are suffering the effects of a failed food system and pretty much a failed healthcare system that places you immediately at risk. And we have to start really thinking about that, because my goal, and I hope your goal is to live a long, happy, healthy life. So let's assume you're doing everything right. You're avoiding the alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. You're eating more fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. You're taking Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source. You're getting your spine corrected if you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, pinched nerves. You're getting your chiropractic care. And you still can't lose weight. Anybody have that problem? I do. I have that problem. Sometimes I get stuck a little bit and I just can't get down to the weight I want to be at. I want you to consider the timing of your meals. Intermittent fasting is a really effective way to get your body into a fat-burning mode. Now, my new book, Prescription for Extreme Health, we talk about that. Very effective for helping your body shift from sugar to fat burning. If you're overweight, I want to encourage you to try this. And I want you to skip dinner twice a week. Because what happens is when you eat food, it takes about 8 hours to digest. And then you eat again, and it takes another 8 hours. So most of us eat 3 meals a day every 8 hours, and so we're constantly digesting our meal. We're not getting into the fat-burning mode. So I want you to skip dinner. Start with once a week or twice a week. Now, it's a little uncomfortable because you're going to be hungry. Guess what? It's not going to kill you. You're okay. It's not painful. It's just weird because you're so used to putting food in your body. When you skip, let's say, dinner, you have lunch 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. 8 hours later, your body is now no longer digesting lunch, and it says, I'm going to need a little bit of fuel, and it's going to start burning fat. And it's a great way to cleanse the body, let the body rest, because the number one consumer of energy we have is romance. The number two consumer of energy is digestion. And it gives our body a break, and it lets the body go into more fat-burning mode. And you'll feel great. And you'll go to the bathroom better, and you'll sleep better. It's scary when you stop putting so much food in your body. So even if you're eating a perfectly balanced, wonderful diet of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, I want you to consider intermittent fasting. Try it and see what happens. I think you'll be blown away. Let me go back to the calls. We got a lot more to cover, but we got callers here as well. Ann, how can we make your day better?
Hi, Dr. Joe. I was wanting to ask a question about melatonin.
Okay, I know a little bit about that.
Can you get that in a diet?
Yes.
In what you eat, or do you have to supplement that?
Nope. Let me explain it to you, Lucy. I don't know if you're old enough. I don't know if you're old enough to remember that quote there. So. Okay, what happens is melatonin comes from serotonin. Serotonin comes from 5-HTP. 5-HTP comes from vitamin B6 combining with amino acids from your stomach, tryptophan. So you eat a protein, whether it's a carrot or a steak, breaks down into tryptophan. Tryptophan combines with B6. B6 creates 5-HTP. 5-HTP becomes serotonin. Serotonin becomes melatonin. So if you have a healthy digestive system, you're breaking your food down properly, and you should be producing enough melatonin.
Okay.
So it really doesn't come from the food. It comes from your body digesting food properly, and then your body produces it. There you go. So one of the problems is if you have acid reflux or heartburn and you lay down at night, you have a big meal. That's why I'm saying skip dinner. You lay down, the stomach pushes up against the diaphragm. You can't breathe properly, so you can't sleep, and you're not producing melatonin, so you can't sleep. So a lot of people with sleep apnea and sleep difficulties pull the stomach away from the diaphragm, get the diet straightened out, cut back eating at night, and they start to sleep very well.
Right. And sometimes stress, I've noticed.
Of course. Yeah, well, stress
when
affects your
I'm under
digestive
a lot
system.
of stress
Mm-hmm.
or anxiety, the passing of my mother. I had a lot of difficulty.
Absolutely. Well, the other
getting to sleep.
The other thing too, we're finding with melatonin is not just about sleep. It actually helps with cancer. So it's a wonderful antioxidant and it helps the body fight cancer. So we really got to consider not just the lack of sleep being an issue, but your body not healing properly being an issue. So try that, and that's a great way to actually sleep better is to push your meals further away from bedtime, and most people sleep really well with that.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Ann. Thanks for calling. I appreciate it.
Bye.
See, folks, we always want to give you the answers to your healthcare problems. So back to that intermittent fasting. I want to cover that because this is really a cool thing. Try it. See what happens. Now, you can go into a water fast if you want to get really serious. If you consider eating right, yellow belt, and then intermittent fasting, brown belt, you want to get into black belt is when you go into a total fast and you do nothing but water. Now, you can do nothing but water. Some folks do Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source along with that. And your body really gets a rest. And when you start going into water fasting, radically jumpstart your body's ability to burn fat as its primary fuel. So if you're kind of stuck and you just can't get past, I'm just stuck on these last 10 pounds, last 20 pounds, try a day or two without food. Now, this is what's cool. After the third day, you lose your appetite. So the first day's horrible, the second day's more horrible, third day gets a little better, and after the third day, you go, you know what? I'm not even hungry anymore. Now, I've had people do this, and I'd had to coach them through it and say, listen, you need to start eating again. But saying, Doc, I feel so good. I have so much energy. I understand that, but we do need to eat eventually. So I know you're thinking 3 days without food. What are you, insane? It's amazing, and that's the black belt. We start getting to the heavy-duty levels of healthcare. So think about not just what you eat, but when you eat. Evaluate what you're eating. Most pesticides can be avoided if you eat certified organic foods. Buy organic produce. If you're going to eat animal products, which I don't think you should, but if you do, grass-fed organic products. That would be meat, butter, cheese, yogurt, dairy, ice cream, organic only. It has to say organic. It can't just see range-free or whatever, euphemism they use. It's got to have the word organic. And if you're doing organic, you're cutting back on your consumption of genetically modified ingredients, artificial sweeteners, processed foods, ultra-processed foods. But that's not the only route. You want to start avoiding chemicals in your body, household cleaners, personal care products, anything containing flame retardants. That's furniture, children's clothing, electronics. These are all common sources of endocrine disrupting chemicals that you got to be careful with. And increase your physical activity. Get moving. So if you want the ultimate healthcare plan, in my opinion, normally functioning nervous system, normally functioning digestive system, good nutrition. Most people don't have a healthcare plan. They have health insurance, but they don't have a healthcare plan. I'm going to reverse that. If I give you a healthcare plan, you're not going to have to rely on your health insurance so much. Folks, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. My website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe with the number one Dr. Joe in the world. You can get Super Greens, Essential Source, send me questions, watch videos, listen to archived radio shows. Really good source of information. If you want to order products, they're also available on Amazon if you have an Amazon account. The number, if you want to reach my office, 844-44-DR-Joe. That rings through to my office when I'm not on the air. Hey, folks, if I don't say it enough, thank you so much for listening. I do appreciate it. Thanks for telling your friends about the show. Hey, talk to you next week.